In today's episode, we have to ask ourselves what happened to Mary Rogers. The veil of mystery just gets thicker and we find ourselves no closer to an answer. What happened all those years ago? Okay, let's go.
Mary Cecilia Rogers was born around 1820 in Lyme, Connecticut.
Eee.
I'm back in the long agos. Now, frustratingly, her birth records did not survive the test of time, so we don't have exact dates as to exactly when she was born, unfortunately, which means there are going to be some gaps in the information.
Mer.
Also regarding her parentage.
Oh.
Yeah. So, for example, I did find conflicting information. I found an article that said that her father's name was James Rogers and that he died when she was 17 from a steamboat explosion.
Oh, not Jimmy Rogers.
Oh, Jimbo Rogers.
That's a way to go. Far out.
It is, but then every other piece of information I found said that he died when she was 5, and they didn't really give a reason for it. But based on the information on how her mother earns money, which we'll learn in a minute, I'm leaning more toward the fact that he would have died when she was 5.
Okay.
So Mary's mother, her name was Phoebe Rogers. Phoebe Rogers!
Bye.
And at least for this part, we are going to assume that she is a widower and a single mother after the death of her husband, because that's what I'm saying.
He said it. It's done.
Yeah. Well, also because everything else kind of leans toward it. The reference I made earlier regarding how she would one day earn money might have made some listeners think that maybe she went on the game and became a lady of the night, but that's not what I said. So if that's where you went, that says more about you than it does about me.
That's where I went.
Well,
I was like, she's a lady of the night.
no, homie, she's actually I think you might even still call them a mistress, but it's not like a sexual thing. She ran a boarding and lodging house.
Oh.
Yeah, but she did it out of necessity because she really needed to earn the income. And as you can imagine at the time, it was more than likely that she would have played the role of the domestic lady at home. She keeps the house clean, she cooks, she takes care of the children, la 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 la, same old story. And he would have been out making coin.
Stuff that, being a widower back then.
Exactly.
No.
Back in the early 1800s?
No.
I wouldn't even want to do it now.
I wouldn't even do it now.
No, that would be a bit frustrating. Anyway, naturally, when he passed away, she was left to raise their only child, and I guess she needed a hustle. And it turned out that this business was actually quite good for them. It was a great idea. It provided for Phoebe, and it gave enough money for her to also support Mary. And I believe I saw somewhere that Mary would end up working there too. So no body parts had to be exchanged for coinage. So yeah, she would work with her, but very briefly. She didn't stay there for all too long. And I also read, at least in one article, that she too lived there, but that's a given. Not as her mother's daughter, but that she paid lodging
To stay there.
to live there.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
I would.
I respect the hustle, baby, but I wouldn't charge my child to...
Yeah, but I guess that's also the...
But if she's polite and she's kind and she's contributing and she works there too,
Yeah.
but you're my child. If I'm not paying board, I'm not charging you board. That to me is messed up. May not have been an actual thing, but there was one at least that said that she lodged there too. So that to me is very interesting. Anyway, Mary is reported to have been a beauty. I know I've been saying that a lot, but this place said that she had an unnatural beauty. And I was like, oh,
I'll take your word for it. She was a stunner.
I'll have to. I'm not into women, so we might feel a little bit differently about that. Apparently she was quite tall. Don't know, don't ask. They didn't say. They said quite tall. Mind you, this is 18 whatever the who. So tall back then was probably 5'4".
Average height.
Oh, she's a giraffe.
You're a big one.
Hello, big woman. She was symmetrical. I don't know, don't ask. I don't know what they're meaning. They referred to her form when they said that she was symmetrical. So I was thinking, okay, did they mean she had a symmetrical face?
That's, yeah.
I don't know why they'd be looking, because that would not be the done thing to do. Did she have a symmetrical bosom? Or just she, half of her was the mirror image of the other half of her? That's a very strange thing to be, I find that attractive. Your form is symmetrical.
That's just weird. That's, okay, cool.
Yeah. They also said that her features were regular. I genuinely don't know what that means. I can't imagine that. She's so beautiful. Her features are regular. What
Yeah.
the flip does that mean?
Yeah, that's kind of the
That sounds like an insult. Your features are ordinary.
what's that saying with the painting? I always say it to you every time, and then you tell me every time. Where it's like they look good from far away.
Oh, a total Picasso.
Yeah.
Looks great from far away, but boy oh boy is it a mess when you get closer. Only a Picasso is not symmetrical. So that doesn't really apply there.
Yeah.
And your face is not made out of a triangle and a square, bitch. Like, I don't care what you say. Sorry about it.
Sorry about it.
Her complexion was beautiful, aka white. They didn't say that, but I read between the lines.
Yeah.
The paper was white too. And she had beautiful jet black hair.
Oh.
She was a goth. She was
Yeah.
a goth from the
1800s.
1800s. Can you imagine?
It's not a phase, Dad.
This is who
Oh.
I am.
She doesn't have a dad.
Oh yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. It's
Not
just
a phase,
Dad.
Mom.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of works either way. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also pleasant and was a gracious host to her familiars and otherwise. She was just pleasant to everybody.
Sounds like a gem.
Well, some would say a diamond in the rough.
Diamond in the diamond in the rough.
I can show you the world,
You just took me back to my childhood right there.
shining, shimmering, splendid.
So she was pretty, and word got around that she was a stunner. Eventually, it reached the ears of one John Anderson in early spring of 1841. And he just had to have her as his employee at his store. He obviously wanted her as a love interest too. He was fanging for her.
Fanging for it. Oh, I love that saying.
He was just fanging for the poor
You need
lass.
to come work for me, love.
Men, will they ever change? Probably not, because that was over 100 years ago, and we're still the same.
And here we are today.
In fact, almost 200 years ago.
No, I like thinking it's still 1990
40?
something.
Same. Mary accepts the job offer, and she becomes a clerk at his cigar store on Broadway. She would have been around 20 at this time.
That sounds like a pretty good freaking job. A cigar clerk giving cigars to...
People coming in and buying cigars.
Yeah.
Because I think it's literally like a tobacco shop.
Yeah, you can meet everyone there.
Phoebe, however, was not happy about this, and she was unhappy that Mary would want to work at a cigar store because the patronage, the men who attended, were unsavory characters.
Mm-hmm.
No daughter of mine is going to be working there handing out stogies to people. Are you kidding me? I think the other thing is that the only job that Mary had ever had was with her mum in the border house lodging thingy. So she was probably a little bit protective of her, which I get.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. It took some time and it took some convincing, but Mary eventually went to work at the cigar store with the approval. Well, would you call it approval? Regardless of how her mum felt about it, Mary went and got a job there.
She did the damn thing.
That's right. She did the damn thing. She was like, Mum, I'm an independent woman. It is 1841. We're not living in the past no more, Mama. I'm going to go get myself a job at the tobacco store. You can't do nothing about it. Well, she wasn't even country. They were in Connecticut. That's fine. James Anderson may have been a little creepy man, but he was a smart, creepy man, because when he put her on as the clerk at the cigar store, and she was already known as a beauty with ordinary symmetrical features, he was really smart because all the men in the area decided they're going to come and buy cigars from her.
Mm-hmm. That's where she would have met some suitors.
That's right. She met a lot of men who were very interested in her, and she actually had no problem turning them down and rejecting their offers on her.
Oh, that'd be so much fun.
And everything seemed to be going well until the end of January 1841, when all of a sudden she just stopped turning up to work.
Oh.
Seems a bit strange to me.
Right.
She also hadn't been seen at home for a spell too. Naturally, Phoebe lost her dang mind with worry, and she went and she spoke to James Anderson about it. He was like, what the heck, she hasn't turned up here? And then obviously Phoebe's like, well, she hasn't been home. So she goes to the authorities and I guess tells them about it. She wanted to report on her daughter's vanishing. Again, that makes sense to me. The media somehow got a hold of this
Oh.
because I'm guessing that the police didn't really care about confidentiality or keeping a secret. So they thought, this is a really interesting story. We're just going to tell everyone about it. So the media get it. And they run rampant with it, calling her the cigar girl and talking about her mysterious vanishing. But 6 days later, she reappears at work.
Okay.
Escándalo. She turns up for her shift as if no time had passed at all, and she looked normal, mostly. She appeared to be in good health.
She was abducted by aliens. Just rock up what
That's it. You take over, you go. So she reappears, and she appears to be in good health. However, her smile is gone,
Uh-oh.
and she seemed sad and lost in thought all the time. And whenever asked about it, she would be short and sharp, and she told people that she was away visiting relatives in the country. And Phoebe would also get asked the same question, where was your daughter? Because remember, this became like a media spectacle. People wanted to know what was happening, and
Yeah.
she would give the same answer. My daughter was away with the relatives, even though she was the one who lodged the report with the authorities. And same would happen when anyone asked James Anderson about what had happened. Well, Mary had stepped away, and she was in the country visiting her relatives.
I don't know, there's something that I find really like about when you see someone who's just changed completely. And it's just that like, I don't like that.
Well, no, because you know that something has happened. Something has been taken from them.
Yes.
It is quite scary, quite sad. And apparently, even the deaf and the blind would have been able to pick up on the fact that Mary really was not interested in talking about it. Because it'd be quick, short, sharp. I was with me family in the country. Get away from me, you cretin. Well, there's no evidence of her being rude about it, but she was just short and sharp and to the point and didn't really want to talk about it. Anyway, it never fails to surprise me how prevalent the rumor mill is, hey? Because it's about to play a supporting role in today's case. Rumor has it that Mary was actually seen with a tall, handsome naval officer during the time that she claimed that she was in the country visiting her relatives. I don't know who reported it, if multiple people reported it, if it was even accurate. None of that. I don't even know. But that's what the word on the street said.
That's what they said.
That's what they said. To be fair, por qué no los dos? Like, maybe he was tall and he was handsome, but why couldn't he also be her cousin?
Yeah, right?
Like, this is back in 1841, isn't it?
Yeah.
People have sex with their cousins all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I mean, today, people still do. But, like, back then, it wasn't really frowned upon. A lot of people would marry kind of in the family in that sort of way. Cousins, I don't like, but I can kind of... It doesn't make me want to drink a bottle of bleach. Brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, that stuff is weird to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, he wasn't necessarily her cousin. I'm just saying por qué no los dos? Because when in Rome. But also, I don't even know if there's any proof this man even existed. So again, it is just a rumor. It ends up getting back to Mary. And she was human.
Oh.
She was not happy about that. Do you know what she did? She quit right on the spot and she left the job. She'd only been back for a few days, less than a week, I think. And she was like, if this is what I'm coming back to and people are speculating that I was off gallivanting with some naval officer, I am done.
She just packed up shop.
She did, and she went into hiding at her mum's little boarding house. Yeah. It didn't take long for more words to spread about her new engagement to Daniel Payne, who was a clerk, and he resided in that same boarding house. I think the news actually broke like a month later.
Oh.
So I think she was already seeing him. So
Okay.
I don't think she was with some naval dude.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe she was. I don't actually know. At 10 a.m. 10 of the a.m. 10 a.m. on July 25th, I believe it was a Sunday, 1841, Mary knocked on Daniel's door. Nothing happened. She just wanted to tell him that she's going to go away and spend time with her aunt that day.
Yeah.
Her aunt's name was Mrs. Downing, and she's going to go hang out with her on Bleecker Street. And Daniel told her that he would call for her that evening. I think that stuff is so cute.
I'll call for you.
Because that just means he's going to go there and pick her up that night. That's adorable. I wish that we could still do courting like that. There's no reason I still can't suck your dick in the cinema. But I would love for Maybe even then. Maybe I'll wait till like the third date to do that. There's something that I really love about the idea of old school traditional love and courtship. I think that's beautiful.
Bring it back.
Bring it back. Now it's just a blowjob in the back of a car.
Dick pic, blowjob in the back of the car.
Unsolicited dick pic. Or if you're on a time crunch, you do it while he's dropping you to the train station. That didn't happen with me at all. Maybe once.
After the movies. I guess I still can't get over that. I never hooked up in the movies.
So Daniel spent the day away from home, and as night fell, so did torrential downpour.
Oh.
So it was like, now it was just rainy. So it was raining so bad that Daniel decided that he wasn't going to call on her that evening, because I don't think he had a car. I think he was making his way over there to pick her up in person to walk her back home.
Yeah.
So I think that he felt like she wouldn't want to get drenched like that. So he's like, she's with her aunt. She can stay the night there. I'll call on her in the morning.
Yeah.
So he got home and he let Phoebe know, so the mum know, that he wasn't going to be collecting Mary that evening because of the weather. And she agreed that it was a great idea. And I think she may have even been like, that's really thoughtful.
Yeah.
You know, because that's kind of cute.
Yeah.
Phoebe wasn't all bad. Phoebe was all right.
All right.
I guess.
Lucky.
And the next day, the storm had passed and Mary was surely due to come home, only she didn't. And no one would actually ever see Mary alive again.
Oh.
Unfortunately. So Daniel made it home in time for dinner, and I'm pretty sure his meal was on the table or whatever, but he sat down to eat, and that's when Phoebe said to him, "Hey, oi, she hasn't come home yet." And again, I'm sorry, chivalry should not be dead. If it's dead, revive the bitch, because it needs to come back. Because what did he do? He's a hungry man. He's been out all day, most likely working. Let's assume that. Instead of finishing his meal, he pushes his food aside, gets redressed, and then heads straight over to Bleecker Street to go and find Mary because he's worried about her.
Good job.
Good job. I mean, you're just doing what a decent human would have done, but still. Only when he actually gets to Mrs. Downing's house on Bleecker Street, he has a chat with her, and it turns out that she never showed up.
Oh, no.
She never actually reached her house.
Far out.
Keep in mind that she had also pulled a vanishing act before, which is what her mother was thinking. Something was a little different this time, and I think it was around how she was dressed. She was wearing like light summer clothes, so it wasn't really suited for like just pulling a vanishing act. She didn't have anything with her. She just went, and her mum like was observant enough to notice that that's what had happened.
Yeah.
So something just didn't seem right. So just like the last time, the media went nuts over the whole vanishing thing, because obviously it made its way back to them. Only this time, several days later, fishermen would find her mutilated body off Castle Point in Hoboken, and she, I believe, was like just off the shore when she was found. Apparently, it was not far from a saloon called Siblis Cave. Her face had been beaten to a pulp, and she had cord tied around her waist with a heavy stone attached to the other end of it. So I don't know if they had drowned her, if that was to hide the body, but she had been weighed down in the water. She had a piece of a dress that was tied around her neck. It looked like it had been ripped off. It was lace, I think, but they said it was tied around her neck, tight enough to cause strangulation. So I'm not too sure if she died from that, or from drowning, or from being beaten to a pulp. I'm genuinely not sure how that happened. There are also deep marks left in her wrist from her being tied like tightly, and she had light kid gloves on her hands apparently, and there was a little bonnet that also had ribbons hanging from it that I believe was around her neck. I don't know if it was tied or if it was just on. I'm really not too sure. Her clothing was also badly torn, and there were investigations that were made later by physicians, and they revealed that she had been brutally R-worded before her death.
Far out.
Like, sometimes it does not pay to be pretty. I'm not saying it's her fault.
No,
that's
that's
not me saying it's her fault.
Yeah.
The curse is that men are disgusting, and some of them, hashtag not all or whatever, if you get hurt by that, then you are probably a predator. They will take whatever they want, and that behavior I cannot get behind.
And especially if she's going, nope, nope, nope. Far out. How horrific.
And also think about like what that would have looked like to everyone back in 1841. Like that would have been like, I mean, it would look bad now, but like back then when it wasn't super common at all, that would have looked real whack. Naturally, Daniel was the first to be interrogated, but he could account for his whereabouts and what he advised them seemed to be satisfactory, so he was allowed to go. At this point now, like a week had passed, they didn't have any suspects, they didn't have anything, so apparently they started getting shit from people.
Why aren't you solving this case? This is something you should be solving, see?
Why don't you know the answer, see?
But like, you know my relationship with the police. I'm not a fan because of the ones who abuse their power. Not all of them, but the ones who do. But I can also understand when something is not necessarily their fault. If they're still trying,
Yeah.
then you shouldn't give them crap for it. Anyway, so the authorities offered basically a big old fat reward
Yeah.
for information and the conviction of whoever it was that was found to be guilty to be the murder. And they also announced that in addition to that reward, complete immunity and protection would be given to anyone having guilty knowledge of the crime, but not if they were the perpetrator thereof.
That's smart. If you haven't got any leads, 1800s, not a lot of money going around. That's smart.
Like a little bit of money would have seemed like a large reward.
Yeah.
$5
Yeah.
would have seemed like a lot. The following day, the coroner received an unsigned letter from some young dude residing in Hoboken, and in the letter he stated that he had spotted Mary at Hoboken on Sunday, but refrained from coming forward earlier due to what he described as motives of perhaps criminal prudence. Basically what he means is possible reason of criminal caution. So he was like, I don't want to be the one who gets charged with this. I don't want to look guilty, so I'm not going to be saying nothing.
Yeah, that's a bad thing about Popo. You shouldn't feel like that when you go to the police.
At the same time, I can't believe I feel like I'm coming to their defense of this shit. If they have nothing but loose ends, they have no suspects, they don't have anything, one person comes forward, you're the suspect now.
Yeah.
Because you're all I have. So I get it.
Hold on to it, yeah.
It's crap, but I get it. I would never want to be in that position. Because I would, even if I didn't do something, I think I'm the kind of person that probably just fold immediately and just seem guilty.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do whatever you say.
Yeah, whatever you want, whatever you want. So the author of the letter recounted an incident where he was strolling through the Elysian fields. I believe it was like it's a retreat, and he was doing that on Sunday. And they observed a boat departing the New York side, and the boat carried 6 rugged individuals and a finely attired young lady whom they identified later as Mary Rogers.
I don't like that. Why is she with so many
Why
men?
is she with a bunch of different men when she was... But also she was meant to be heading to her
Is
aunt's
it-
house?
Is that on the way to, like, the park that he was at? Is that on the way to where she was headed? Or it was completely out of the way?
I genuinely don't
Yeah,
know.
sorry.
Apparently she and her companions disembarked from the boat onto the beach and proceeded into the woods. That sounds like a group event to me. Maybe she was ganged.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, when you said how she was, I was like, I don't know why, I just had a vibe of more than one.
So the writer of the letter found it surprising to see her accompanied by such rugged men, and he noted that she did appear willingly to join them. It didn't look like she was under duress at all. And apparently she was also laughing cheerfully as she walked along the shore.
What?
Obviously before she hit the woods.
Yeah.
But I still think something strange there, because she was meant to be going to her aunt's house and didn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, that's a little bit strange to me. So apparently not a lot of time had passed after they vanished into the woods. And then another boat departed the New York side. This time it was 3 elegantly attired men. So 3 men with money, I'm guessing. One of them disembarked the boat onto the shore, meeting up with 2 other gentlemen who waited there for him, and eagerly inquired if he had witnessed a young woman with 6 men arriving from the boat just moments earlier. So after they said to him that, yeah, they saw her, he then asked if any of them had acted or exhibited any violence toward her.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that kind of creeps me out. It's like, is that what you're expecting? Is that what you paid for? Is...
So those guys
The nicely attired gentleman
said that to him.
said that not to the guy that wrote the letter, he overheard it, but to like a couple of other guys that were waiting on the beach.
Ugh, that's creepy. I don't like that.
He basically just went on to say that it looked like she willingly went with them, and without making any further comment, he returned to his boat and set course back to New York.
What has gone on?
You and me both. Anyway, the identity of the person who wrote the letter remained undisclosed, but the letter found its way into the newspapers because, again, everything makes its way back to the media. The following day, the two gentlemen who had been seen strolling the beach stepped forward, confirming the account. So they had come forward and been like, yeah, that happened. Because that letter was published. So they probably would have, at some point, been suspected of it. So you might as well come forward.
Or if you told people you're going somewhere or someone saw you leaving for somewhere.
So both men said that they knew of Mary. So they knew what she looked like. I don't know if they knew her personally. And they mentioned that the girl that ventured into the woods with the 6 rough men closely resembled her. Yet they admitted that they weren't close enough to definitely confirm that it was actually her. So they're like, it was in the likeness of Mary Rogers, but I can't confirm that it was Mary Rogers. It just looked like her. Okay? So the next significant piece of evidence would come from a stage driver named Adams. And that was after like a really big delay. It was like several weeks later at this point about something that happened on that specific Sunday, and he said that he had witnessed Mary's arrival on Hoboken at Bull's Ferry, and she was accompanied by a tall, well-dressed man with a dark complexion, and they proceeded together to the roadhouse near the Elysian Fields, and his name was Nick Mullins. Is this the naval officer they were talking about?
Ooh.
Like, is it? We don't know that, but is it? Anyway, so Mrs. Loss, who was the owner of the establishment, she recollected that that same man, or at least someone fitting that description, had visited her establishment with a young woman that same day. After enjoying refreshments, they had proceeded into the nearby woods. Why is everyone going to the woods?
What is in the woods? I don't like that. That's just very ominous. Like, I don't like that. What's in the woods?
So shortly after they departed, she heard a woman's scream emanating from the woods. However, given that that area was frequented by dubious individuals, she decided that she wasn't really going to pay much attention to that noise because it wasn't uncommon. So she dismissed the incident from her mind.
Oh my gosh.
But that's like if you saw a group of men, sorry, even just one man go into the bush with a woman and then you heard a scream, I'm coming in there.
Yeah. But also saying, oh, that's just something that always happens.
Then how many other people have died and you've been an idiot and you've not done anything?
What the heck?
So the exact spot that the girl was brutally R-worded and butchered was discovered by Mrs. Loss's little children on September 25th, exactly 2 months after the murder. So that might sound a little bit confusing because it sounds like we're going forward, going back, but apparently while her kids were playing in the woods, they found a dense thicket and it contained a white petticoat, a silk scarf, a parasol, and a linen handkerchief bearing the initials MR. So she had been there.
Oh.
And her kids found, I guess, the site maybe where it happened.
Okay.
Anyway, so the surrounding ground had been disturbed and the shrubbery appeared that it had been like trampled on, suggesting that the area had been the site of a violent struggle.
What has gone on?
And why did she go in there?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right. Like a young lady who, for all intents and purposes, was well-to-do. And that's not to say that people can't have sexual desires or whatever. Like, what if she maybe was also doing sex work? And what if she was going in there thinking that it was going to just be clientele, right? A John is a John. You got 6 of them, that's a big payday. What if that's what it was? We don't know that. I'm not suggesting it is. But what if it was? And she thought that all that was going to happen was like group sex with a bunch of different men. And then, because that's the only thing I can think of why a young lady, 20, would go into the woods where unsavory characters go with a group of 6 rugged men who, again, looked like they were unsavory characters. I can't imagine that they would have been like, come and hang out with us, lady. We're going into the woods and we're going to have a tipple. Like, do you want to have a drink? Let's go and have a drink. I can't imagine that would happen. And if she was in high spirits when she went there, then again, she could have been like, I'm about to make some real money. But also, just repeat, I'm not saying that that's what was happening. I'm trying to piece together why someone would put themselves in that situation, if that's what happened. So heading out of that thicket was a wide trail that resembled one that would have been created by a body being dragged through the bushes, and it extended towards the river but quickly vanished into surrounding woods. So all the items they found, it's confirmed that they did belong to her and that she had them on her the day she vanished. So every attempt you can think was undertaken to locate this tall, dark complexioned man. Sounds a bit racist, but I'm pretty sure he would have stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
In a crowd of white, you're the only
18.
the only one with a tan. And apparently it's confirmed that he did match the description of the naval officer that she had reportedly been seen with during her initial disappearance. But again, who really knows? Because no one's really said what his position was. Like, was he wearing naval clothes? I don't really know.
Yeah.
But apparently the search proved to be futile because they could not locate him at all. So it was also believed that her mum knew more about this than she led on. And I guess that could also go forward if you're thinking about her business. In saying that, though, she was referring to the men going to the tobacco shop as unsavory, but then that begs a question, how would she know?
You pimping your daughter out?
I mean, I'm not saying that. The story suggests that, but I'm not actually saying that. I think that's what happened.
That makes more sense because it's kind of like you're running a business, you got to be happy for the clients, blah, blah, blah. You know, it could have just been like, we're just having a bit of a party or, you know, come along with us. Oh, we're just going to pop in here quickly.
And it's a bordello. It's a brothel instead of just being like a normal place. Was that offered to every patron? Was it only offered to a few? Were there some that went there because they knew what was going on? I don't know. But Daniel, her fiance, I guess, never managed to overcome the whole trauma inflicted by her death, which is kind of I think he really genuinely loved her. So he was so impacted by what had happened. And I guess, like, I don't know because it doesn't say, but there may have even been some guilt felt. Like maybe if he had actually gone and called on her that night, that should still be alive, even though she wasn't even at the place. So I hope that's not how he felt. Anyway, it had such a tremendous impact on him that it affected his mental health and he would end up unaliving himself.
Oh, no, Daniel.
And where he did it was also very significant. He did it at the same place they believed that she was murdered.
You stopped that. Oh, Daniel. Almost as in I'll feel your pain.
I can do this with you. Like, we'll do it together.
Yeah, because I was like, why would you do that there? That's such a horrific place. But it's like, so you're not alone.
That's right.
Oh, my heart.
So, obviously, the crime underwent rigorous investigations, yet they were unable to lift the veil on the mystery of the charming cigar girl. So that's kind of where it's left off. But, interesting fact, Edgar Allan Poe, he wrote a tale about her. I'm not going to go through it because it's too long, but he named it The Mystery of Marie Roget. Do you know that one?
I love Edgar Allan Poe, and I did not realize that was... I've got his book of poems at home.
Yeah, so you would have that at home. Well, that's fascinating.
Oh, I'm going to read that when I get home. I'll have a look.
Something interesting to add around some theories and stuff that I read about when I was researching her case is, which obviously doesn't actually make any sense now when you look at the condition her body was in when she was found. It doesn't make sense as to how she was tied and strangled and bludgeoned and R-word and all that kind of stuff. But one theory, so they believe that she had gotten pregnant somehow from Mr. Anderson, her old employer, and she died from a botched abortion.
Oh.
And they didn't know what to do, so they dumped her in the water. Again, that theory does not stand up when you read about how she was found.
Yeah.
So if she had been found and she didn't have all of that damage to her clothes where it had been looked like she'd been ripped up, her face being beaten in, her arms being tied, tie around her neck, around her waist, if none of that had happened and she was just found in the water, you could maybe say that that is reasonable, especially after like an autopsy, right?
Yeah.
But given the fact that we know what we know about her condition, there ain't no way that it would have been a botched abortion.
I don't like this. I just want to know what happened.
Again, to me, her behavior's strange.
Yes.
Like, she is a good girl, you know, surface level, what you think is a good girl, yet she vanished for however long to go and see this naval dude who pops up again in the picture later. She disappears into a bush with a bunch of 6 men she's never seen again. And she's dead and she's brutally attacked.
What happened?
What happened to Mary Rogers? I guess we'll never know. It was almost 200 years ago.
Thanks so much for that.
You're very welcome. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
Goodbye.
Bye.
And she didn't have to show her tatas. Not Mary. Oh, bad timing. Not Mary. Not Mary? Yes. Mother. Penelope. Phoebe.
Penelope.
Penelope. I'll take the big one.
Yeah, I'll take the big one. Oh. Well, I've heard some gay men say that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Permanent limp afterwards.
Oh. Okay. I was about to say that you won't get in
I
trouble.
Me! It was me.
It was me.
It was me, ma'am.
My legs are starting to hurt. I'm watching Mike Wazowski. Always watching. Into the thick of it.
Into the thick of it. Oh. We're like, oh.